Title: The Ghost Years. My name is Graham Lockwood. 9 years ago, I stopped existing. There was no thunderclap, no shattered glass. Just a moment. Halfway up the stairs, one hand on the oak banister, I sanded and stained myself. That's when I heard her voice. Flat. Bitter. Unmistakably hers. I wish he would just disappear. Like he never existed. Sarah was in the kitchen. Phone pressed to her cheek. Water running. She didn't know I was home early. Didn't know I had paused. To untie my shoes, frozen now, listening to my own obituary. Sometimes I wish I could start over. If Graham vanished, it would be a relief. I didn't move. Couldn't. The words hollowed me out. Slow and quiet, like rot under the floorboards. We weren't perfect, but I thought we were in it together. I thought the late nights, the Sunday mornings, with tea the way she liked it, meant something. They didn't. When she left the kitchen, I climbed the stairs, pulled out an old duffel bag, didn't look at our wedding photo. I packed only what I needed. 2 shirts, change of jeans, toothbrush, laptop charger, and the emergency savings card I never told her about. By the time the sun dipped beneath the skyline, I was no longer her husband, just a man already half. Gone. I left the house keys on the table we once argued over. Sleek and modern, she said. Solid wood with history, I said. We compromised, like we used to. I walked past our bookshelf, still held her first thesis, my notes, my encouragement, apparently forgotten. The front door creaked. I winced, didn't stop. I drove without a destination, didn't check my phone, didn't leave a note. Just went until the city lights faded and the stars returned. At a motel off Route 8, I paid cash for a room. No name, no ID, just silence. That night, I whispered to the dark, "If she wants me gone, I'll give her exactly that." In the morning, I destroyed my ID, created a new identity, Miles Rowan. A name no one in Dust Hollow would recognize. A name with no past, only potential. The ghost years. I traded my briefcase for steel-toed boots, espresso for gas station coffee, worked at a shipping yard, slept in the back of my truck. Anonymous, free. At night, I studied HTML, CSS, JavaScript. That first time a button changed color on click felt like magic. I read about startups, markets, psychology. I didn't binge shows. I binged growth. Wrote in a nameless leather journal. What I learned. What I lost. Who I was becoming. My first business flip was a failing garage. Bought it cheap. Fixed it up. Sold it for 3 times what I paid. That changed everything. Then came the laundromat, the cafe, the gym. Every business a puzzle. Buy low. Fix fast, sell high. At 28, I launched Rowan Holdings, registered in Delaware, invisible, untraceable. By 30, I had an 8-figure portfolio. No face on brochures, no speeches, just results. The world didn't know me, but the banks did. Every deal stitched with the echo of Sarah's voice, not driving me, but flavoring everything, like smoke you can't wash off. Sometimes I saw couples laughing over coffee, and wondered what life might have looked like if she hadn't said what she said. But the thought would pass, and I'd return to building. Dust Hollow. The sign hadn't changed. Dust Hollow, where heritage lives. On, same flaking paint, same half-hearted promise. 9 years later, the town still smelled like boiled asphalt and broken ambition. I drove slow. Not because I forgot the turns, but because every corner dared me to remember. The Wellington Grand stood tall at the end of Main Street, restored, gleaming, once a crumbling relic, now a monument. Sarah used to dream of staying there if we ever made it, so I booked the top-floor suite, paid in full by the man she couldn't trace. Miles Rowan. No bags, no announcement, just silence. I owned the investor who rebranded the diner she once waitressed at. Funny how things turn. I walked Main Street alone. The bakery where I saved our wedding cake was shuttered now. For lease. Time eats everything. Back at the hotel, a man held the door for me. You from around here? Used to be. Didn't think I recognized you. That's by design. The encounter. I was stepping off a call with Singapore when I saw her. Housekeeping. Cart. Shoulders hunched. Hair pulled tight. Time had worn her down. She didn't recognize me. Until I said her name. Sarah. She flinched, dropped the towel, collapsed. No drama, no scream, just knees buckling under a decade. A manager rushed over. Do you know her? I didn't blink. No. But the truth was a hurricane behind my ribs. Her eyes opened, found mine. You're dead, she whispered. No, I said. Just better. I turned before the tears could finish forming. Epilogue. Back in my suite, I shook, not from regret, from the force of it all. I came back for silence, control, closure, but the past has gravity. Still, I wasn't here for revenge. I was here to remind the town that once erased me, that ghosts don't disappear, they haunt, and Miles Rowan was just getting started. I folded the hotel sheets, just as I used to imagine we would, back when we'd walk past this building and dream about futures we didn't deserve. It was 1903 when I stared out the window. The town looked smaller than ever, as if the years had hollowed it out. But her face, hollow, worn, shocked, loomed large in my mind. I couldn't shake it. At 1919, I thought about leaving again, packing up, disappearing, Dust Hollow behind me as forgotten as I had once been. But I didn't go. I went to the lobby, not because I needed anything. I just wanted to see how fast the word would travel. Dust Hollow was still a town of whispers. By morning, I knew every hallway in the Wellington, every diner booth and break room would echo with the same question. Did you hear who's back? At the bar, I nursed a glass of Glenlivet. The bartender, gelled hair trying too hard, tried to make conversation. Here for business or nostalgia? I smiled faintly. A little of both. A woman on staff collapsed today. Scared. The hell out of everyone. Is she all right? Physically? Yeah, but... He leaned in. She looked like she saw a ghost. I swirled the amber liquid, met his gaze in the mirror. She did. That night, I barely slept. I lay on the hotel bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how many nights she had cried in silence. How many mornings she woke up lost. If she ever regretted those words, wished she could take them back. It didn't matter. I wasn't the man who needed her apology anymore. That version of me, the one who waited for her to come around, the one who believed in redemption, he was already buried. The next morning, I called Nolan, one of the few people who knew both my names. He answered on the second ring. You sound tired. I saw her. Silence. She works at the Wellington. Damn. She fainted. I didn't touch her. I barely spoke. You sure you're not chasing something that'll rot you from the inside out? She said she wished I'd disappear. And? I let her know I didn't. I evolved. He sighed. All right, man. Just remember, vindication isn't peace. I ended the call without answering, because he was right. But this wasn't about peace anymore. It was about balance. She cast me into the dark without hesitation. Now she was going to learn what it meant to live in the shadow of a ghost she failed to kill. And this was just the beginning. Sarah regained consciousness in the employee break room, slumped in a faded plastic chair beneath a motivational poster no one had believed in for years. I watched from the hallway for a moment before stepping inside. She didn't see me at first. A hotel nurse hovered nearby, murmuring something about low blood sugar. The manager, Grant maybe, paced nervously, his radio clipped to his belt like a badge of command. Then she turned. Our eyes met. "You're dead." I stepped forward. "No," I said softly, each word deliberate, like a freight train, slow and unstoppable. "Just better." Her mouth parted, maybe to protest, maybe to explain, but no words came. Just that hollow look, like she was seeing a ghost she once summoned but never thought would answer. I didn't stay long, just long enough. By sundown, the news had spread like fire in a dry forest. "Are you really Miles Rowan?" a valet stammered as he tripped over himself delivering my car. An old teacher, Mrs. Porter, showed up in the lobby with a scrapbook and tears in her eyes. They remembered the man who vanished. None of them recognized the one who came back. I let them believe. I shook hands. I smiled when it helped. I played the part while quietly constructing the next phase of my plan. By week's end, I owned the rundown mall off Route 12, the old textile factory lot near Maple Street, and most importantly, the mortgage to Sarah's apartment complex. She wouldn't see my name on any paperwork, not yet. Nolan called again. "You're buying the whole damn town." "Not all of it," I said. "Just the pieces she walks through. You know, this doesn't lead to closure, just another kind of pain." "It's not about pain," I replied. "It's about wait." She said those words 9 years ago, Graham. You really think this ends with her getting it? I don't care if she gets it. I care that she feels it. Pause. "You sure you want to destroy her?" I stood and looked at myself in the mirror. Not Graham. Not the man who edited her thesis at 2 a.m. Miles. Hardened. Controlled. Powerful. "She wished me gone," I said. "Now she'll see what happens when a ghost comes back." He didn't argue, just, "Call me when the smoke clears." Next morning, I walked to the cafe where Monica still worked. She saw me, did a double take. "Miles or Graham?" I smiled, still listening more than I talk. She laughed. "I knew you'd come back someday, just not like this." We sat at the corner booth. I told her about reviving the tech industry, hiring local, giving Dust Hollow something it never had, a future. "You're doing more than most ever have for this place," she said. "I'm doing it because I can, and because some things deserve to be rebuilt the right way." That afternoon, I transferred ownership of Sarah's building to another shell. I restructured the loan, doubled the rent, not to crush tenants, just to make sure one in particular would come looking for the man she buried. The fundraiser was held at the Dust Hollow Community Center, a place that smelled like old paint and underfunded hope. The last time I was here, I was a teenager, avoiding our sweltering apartment by installing ceiling fans. Sarah and I had shared a sandwich on the back steps during a coat drive. I still remembered her voice. "One day, we'll give back like this, when we've made it." She made it clear who she didn't mean by we. Now I walked through those same doors as Miles Rowan, the man Dust Hollow praised like a savior. The mayor shook my hand like I held the last rope out of their pit. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said with too much pride, "please welcome the man who came home." He beamed. "I present to you Mr. Miles Rowan, one of the most successful sons Dust Hollow has ever known. 2747. Applause erupted like a cue on a movie set. I stepped to the microphone, adjusted my cufflinks, and scanned the room. Familiar faces stared back. Older, clinging to hierarchies that should have died with their last homecoming dance. I saw former classmates who wouldn't give me a seat at their lunch tables, teachers who once labeled me distracted, even some of Sarah's family in the corner, smug and dismissive, though less so now that I wore a suit worth more than their yearly income. I didn't smile. I didn't perform. I was told this town needed a hand, I said. I'm offering more than that. I'm offering a future. I pulled a folded check from my pocket and laid it on the podium. My firm is pledging $10 million to revitalize the community center, build a tech education hub, and sponsor full scholarships for the next 10 graduating classes of Dust Hollow High. Gasps rippled across the room. I could feel their perception, shifting, struggling to reconcile who I had been with who stood before them. I didn't care. I wasn't here to be understood. I was here to be remembered. And then I saw her, Sarah. She stood at the back, wearing borrowed heels and a second hand. Cocktail dress, 2 decades out of season. Makeup tried to mask the wear, but I saw through it. Sleepless nights, frayed dignity, quiet panic. Our eyes locked for one heartbeat too long. Her lips parted like she might say my name. I turned away before she could. Later, near the refreshment table, she approached. No pretense. Just raw, uncertain curiosity. "Why are you here?" she asked, voice low. "To finish what you started," I said. She flinched. "I was young, stupid. I didn't mean it." "You said it." Silence thickened between us. "You meant it then, and it meant everything to me." "I didn't. I was angry." "You were cruel," I cut in. "You were comfortable. You thought I'd stay, that I'd carry the weight no matter how loudly you wished it gone. I didn't know you were listening. I was always listening." She didn't argue. She turned and walked away. No drama, no tears. Just slowly, like someone who hadn't yet decided if she was running or accepting the punishment she didn't know was hers to serve. I didn't follow. Over the next 2 weeks, I became a scalpel, slicing through the soft underbelly of Dust Hollow. I acquired the commercial center, strip malls, failing grocery chains, even the land lease for the city council building, all through shell companies. No direct connection, just money and motive. And then came the apartment complex, where Sarah lived. I waited until plumbing failed, security pulled out, tenants fell behind on rent. The owner, tired and cynical, took my offer without blinking. I didn't raise the rent, yet. I let them breathe. And then, I didn't. New ownership. Rent doubled, renovations required, all tenants to submit updated contracts or vacate. My name, Miles Rowan, was printed in bold at the bottom. The front desk called that afternoon. "There's a woman here to see you. Sarah Lockwood." "Send her up," I said. She entered, smaller than I remembered. Not in size, but presence. The air had left her body somewhere between the parking lot and my door. "I'll lose my apartment," she said. I nodded. "You really did it," she whispered. "You became someone." I raised an eyebrow. "No, I became who I always was. You just didn't see it." She moved closer. "I was wrong. Graham. Miles. Whatever you call yourself now. I was so wrong." I didn't blink. "Do you remember telling your sister you wished I never existed?" She trembled. "I was angry, hurting. I was invisible," I said. "Now I'm untouchable." I opened a drawer and handed her an envelope. "What is this?" "Closure. Open it outside." She left. I watched her from the window as she opened the envelope in the parking lot. A check for $0. Memo. Closure. She stood there for a long time. Then, like I had 9 years ago, she turned and walked away without a word. 10 days after acquiring the building, I delivered the final blow. A plain white envelope slid under her door. The new lease, market adjusted, double the current rate. Employment verification required. 30 days, no exceptions. She came again, straight from work, still in her housekeeping uniform, makeup smudged. "You bought the building?" I nodded. "You doubled my rent, Graham?" She called me by my old name like a lifeline. I didn't correct her. Is this punishment? You call it punishment, I said. I call it reality. You were the exception. That ends now. She stared, stunned. I can't afford this. I looked at her, really looked. You remember telling your sister you wished I didn't. Exist? Her eyes flickered. I didn't know you were on the stairs. But I was, I said, and I built a life with those words echoing in my ears. She sat down, voice barely above a whisper. Why come back? Why now? I handed her another envelope. What is this? Closure. She left. Again. Later I watched her open it beneath the streetlights. $0. Memo, closure, no message, no return address, just silence, just justice. The diner hadn't changed. Same chipped tiles, same burnt coffee smell, same ghost of familiarity. Refills are still free, far as I know, a voice said. Monica, older, wiser, still real. Miles, she said softly. Or Graham. I nodded. You really built all that and came back here? Had to feel it, I said. Had to prove I was more than what she saw. She smiled. Some of us saw you. I did. Back when you were fixing wiring here for free. That landed harder than I expected. I appreciate that. I hear you're buying half the town. Put your ex on the curb. She put me in a grave, I said. I'm just handing her the shovel. She didn't flinch, just nodded. Even ghosts deserve peace, Graham. I'm working on it. I'm building something, I said. A tech campus, outreach programs. I want someone local to run them. Who? You. She blinked. Me? Full salary, benefits, equity in the trust. You're serious? I wouldn't offer if I wasn't. Tears welled up. You always knew how to make me cry. Don't make me regret it. You won't. We stood. She hugged me. Not for the past. For what still remained. That night I wrote one more check. Sarah Lockwood, $100,000. Memo, second chance. Not out of guilt. Not to reopen old wounds. But because I understood something now, letting go isn't just walking away. It's giving someone the dignity of choosing not to haunt you anymore. The ribbon was red, thick, ceremonial, the kind meant for history. It fluttered across the entrance of the new tech campus. Glass, steel, stone, modern and undeniable, folded into the aging bones of Dust Hollow. Above its doors, in brushed silver letters, the Lockwood Center. My real name. The one I buried. The one I reclaimed. The mayor spoke first. It's my honor to introduce the man whose brilliance and generosity brought us here today. You knew him as Miles Rowan, but he was born right here in Dust Hollow. I stepped forward, no longer hiding. Not erasing the past, just writing the ending myself, on my terms. At 4450, there was a beat of silence. Just a second, but it rang out like a bell. Murmurs stirred, whispers moved like wind through cornstalks. I watched expressions shift. Eyes widened, jaws slackened. Some lips even formed the syllables of a name they hadn't spoken in years. My name. A few gasps, a few stunned nods. Then applause. Not thunderous, not unanimous, but enough. I stepped to the mic. You didn't know I was still alive, I said, calm and honest. I wasn't. Not for a long time. The crowd stilled. I left this town 9 years ago because someone I trusted, someone I loved, told the world she wished I had never existed, and I believed her. So I vanished. I erased myself, and in that emptiness, I rebuilt. I scanned the crowd. Familiar faces. Monica standing off to the side, arms folded, eyes wet with tears. Nolan tucked in the back, nodding like a proud older brother. Classmates, skeptics, strangers, people who once shared sidewalks and side eyes and silent judgments. I rebuilt because no one was coming to save me, not out of vengeance, out of necessity. Because sometimes the best answer to doubt is becoming someone they can't ignore. A pause. I've worn many names in the past 9 years, but today I reclaim the one that started it all. Not for nostalgia, not for validation, but because it belongs to the man who did the work. Another pause. That man is Graham Lockwood. Applause swelled, louder this time. Some stood, some simply nodded with quiet respect. A reporter called out, "Why name the campus after your original identity?" I met her eyes. "Because I buried that name too soon, and it deserves to be remembered." She nodded, scribbling furiously. Another voice. "Do you think Dust Hollow is ready for this kind of change?" I let a small smile tug at my mouth. It doesn't have a choice. I stepped toward the ribbon. The mayor handed me the oversized scissors like I was royalty, christening a kingdom. The blades slid through the fabric. Cheers erupted. The Lockwood Center was open. Inside, sunlight poured through glass panels onto open-concept workspaces, interactive labs, and startup incubators. I led a tour, city leaders, donors, reporters. I felt their eyes on me, trying to reconcile the man who vanished with the one now leading them forward. But she wasn't there. Sarah. I knew she wouldn't come. I didn't expect her to. But I knew she'd see it. The name on the signs, the stories in the paper, the whispers in the coffee shops. That was the point. Not revenge, visibility. She would never again pretend I was small, forgettable, expendable. Later that afternoon, I sat alone in the Founders Lounge, a private space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the town square. Monica joined, me handing over 2 mugs of coffee. "You did it," she said. "No," I replied. "We did it." She tapped the brass plaque behind me, Lockwood etched in steel. "You sure you're at peace with that name again?" I looked out the window. People gathered below. Children ran through the courtyard. Somewhere, a band played slightly off-key. "Yes," I said. "Good," she whispered. "The town is starting to remember you." "They don't have to remember me," I said softly. "They just have to understand. I'm not gone, and neither is the name." Graham Lockwood wasn't the man who vanished. He was the one who came back. 9 years ago, I disappeared. Because someone I loved said she wished I'd never existed. She didn't yell. She didn't scream. She said it like someone tired of rain, casually, plainly, like my presence was just weather that wouldn't clear. That line became my anthem as I packed my duffel bag and locked the door one final time. I used to think disappearing was surrender. I know better now. Disappearance, done right, is an art, a statement. Not retreat, but restructuring. It's choosing to remove your light from a room that forgot how to honor it. It's going dark not out of shame, but to prepare for a brilliance no one can ignore. I didn't come back for applause. I didn't build Rowan Holdings to prove anyone wrong. I built it to prove something to myself, that I wasn't disposable, that I could reforge myself without screaming for recognition. Now, I sit on a bench, just outside the Lockwood Center. Children chase balloons. Parents talk about job fairs and training programs. A man in a leather jacket sips coffee from Monica's cafe and boasts about his nephew's internship. Every ripple is part of the legacy I never thought I'd live to see. To most of them, I'm Miles Rowan, investor, builder, philanthropist. But now, for the first time, I don't mind the blur. Miles, Graham, they're not at war anymore. They coexist, layers shaped by pressure and time. I don't look for Sarah. I don't check tenant logs. I don't wonder if she cashed the second chance check. The last time I saw her, she walked alone down Main Street, suitcase in hand, head down. I didn't follow. I didn't speak, not out of bitterness, out of closure. She helped write my first chapter, but she doesn't get to define the ending. I do. That's the real legacy of disappearing. Not silence, not revenge, freedom. The power to decide who defines you. In the beginning, I built for survival. Every dollar was armor. Every contract was a weapon. Every sleepless night, fuel. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being about her, or them, or proving anyone wrong. It became about me. Now, when I give someone a job or fund a school, it's not to say, look at me now. It's to say, you don't have to vanish to matter. That was the final piece. The version of me that wanted revenge died when I no longer needed her to cry, when I could pass her on the street without flinching, when I realized she no longer had a vote in my worth. I don't hate her. I don't love her either. What we had was a chapter, one I've closed. I walk across the courtyard. The building gleams in the sun, casting my reflection in the glass. A man in a sharp suit with a measured step, but more than that, a man who endured being erased and still found a way home. Not begging. Building. Monica waves from the welcome desk. I nod and keep walking. I don't need praise. Just the rhythm of progress, the hum of keyboards, the laughter from a mentorship session upstairs, the quiet buzz of a future being built. In my office, I glance at the photo I framed last week, not of the building, but the duffel bag I carried the night I left. Worn, faded, still stitched with memories I no longer run from. It's not a symbol of pain. It's proof of resilience, of knowing when to walk away before you break. I sit at my desk. My phone buzzes. A scholarship recipient thanking me. I reply simply, make it count. And that's all I need. The world doesn't need to remember Graham Lockwood as the man who was discarded. They'll remember him as the one who came back and gave more than he ever received, who turned silence into strength, who became unshakable. Because when you've been erased by someone who swore they'd love you forever, and you still find the strength to carve your name into the steel of the life they tried to destroy, that's not a comeback, that's freedom, and I've never felt more alive.